That's right.
Daniel.
We won with
Yeah,
Daniel.
So
Daniel.
that's 5.
Yeah.
And then I did the 2
Yeah.
Yeah.
at the start of the year or whenever that
Yep.
was.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was around
That was before New Zealand.
Yeah.
No, was that last year? I don't think that was.
It was last year. It was last
Because I remember
Was
I was
it?
like, we're going to New Zealand, and you were like skeptical, and then I was like, well, I've said it now, we got to do it. And update, I bought tickets to Japan, so I am actually going to
Wow.
Japan.
There's the intro.
The scoop. Our football podcast is coming soon. We can talk more about the 2010 World Cup. Welcome back to the Chip Lunch podcast.
Oh.
I have usurped Joel in this because he forgot to wear any flannel. And so he's the left out.
Maybe I'm just a bit classier than you two.
Well,
So-
look.
There you go.
What? Maybe they give it a high kick too. I'm
I'm not sure they can see it.
Don't pull a hammy.
I'm not that
games
old.
on the weekend. Yes, I didn't wear flannel.
No.
It's always a good way to start a podcast, isn't it? Talking about someone else's clothing.
Well, it's generally what you do, so I'm just following.
It is.
Following the lead.
That's what I mean.
Welcome back, Joel.
Welcome back. Thank you.
How are you feeling this morning?
A bit low energy. To
Bit
be
low
honest.
energy.
I think I've struggled to deal with the change in temperature.
Ooh,
A little bit.
I'm loving this. I'm loving the change in temperature.
I don't know. I think it's also because it's dark. I like to get up early, and I'm
Yeah.
struggling to get up early and get just my few little things that I like to do before I get going for the day.
Yeah.
So that might be why.
I'll tell you what will pep you up this morning.
Oh, put some pep in my step.
Yeah, I'll put some pep in your step. Welcome, Hudson.
Oh, I thought you were going to say something else. Welcome, Hudson. You've just rolled out of bed.
I have. This is exactly what I wore to bed.
Shoes and all.
Even shoes as well.
Yeah, shoes. I was
You got to put
ready.
on your sleeping dunks.
Yeah, they are nice
Panda.
shoes though.
Yeah, I just got those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Love
I-
the white dunks.
I like.
Have you
pandas.
ever slept in shoes?
Yes.
I was just thinking about that. I don't know if I've ever slept in shoes.
No,
Oh, really?
I don't think so.
Where
Or
have
maybe
you slept in shoes?
Plenty of times. Shoes, jeans. You just like fall asleep.
Oh, this
on
is
top of-
week away boys' room.
Oh, not even then. I used to do it all the time.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Not
just like
shoe-
collapse on top, like just like fall asleep on top of your bed.
Oh, no.
not shoes though. I think I usually take off my shoes
Yeah.
unless
Yeah.
I've like had a nap and passed out somewhere.
I don't think I've fallen asleep on top of the bedclothes that often either. I do remember doing it after a magical mystery tour.
I used to do it in school. Like I would get changed in my school uniform, like primary school, and I was like, oh, like I just want to have more time to watch TV, so I'd get changed in my school uniform and sleep in it, and then I'd be ready for school the next day.
It's a good tactic. It's a good tactic.
It's also like, what?
No, but
You've definitely still living that out.
yeah, I am. Yeah,
Yeah.
I generally change clothes now, but
It's a good
generally,
Did you say
generally.
generally?
generally do that.
1 out of 7 days I change clothes. Well, this is a different episode. Obviously, we don't have a guest. Well, we have a regular guest, a recurring guest,
the most regular guest.
the most regular. You're very regular.
I am very regular.
Excellent. That's good to know. Are you regular?
What are we talking about?
Your BMs.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. How regular?
People call it BMs.
Yeah.
Bowel movements.
Well,
if
we are
anyone's wondering.
First and foremost, the chip podcast. Any good hot chips lately, Joel? Huddo?
Not for me, actually.
Not
I have
for you?
a medical issue that I can't eat stuff with lots of oil in at the moment.
Oh no.
I have a gallstone.
Oh
Which
no.
is so upsetting.
Coming out on the podcast.
No, it's not at the moment. It's not coming out of
It'll be in the newsletter this week.
live operation on
Just
the
do a podcast in the background with you on like the hospital
on the
bed.
table. On the table. He's what is it? He's flatlining. Not for me.
Not from you.
What about you guys? Chips.
I don't think I've had chips in a while. The last time I remember,
You work in a chip.
I know,
Yeah.
but actually, well, yeah, I'd have like chips on break because they're free. Not really. I don't steal.
Borrowed.
But yeah, borrowed. And
Thanks, Colonel.
The last time
Shout
I
out to
like
the Colonel.
actually bought chips was probably from one of the chip shops in Guyme. I got like a family because I was like, okay, I'll get a family chips. I get 6 cookies from not KFC, from Subway, and I didn't even finish the chips. I was very disappointed.
Hang on a sec.
That's very
You decided to get a family-sized pack of chips and 6 cookies for yourself.
Well, like I didn't plan on getting both of them at the same time. I just got the family thing and then was like, Subway has 6 cookies for $6. I'm sold.
I need the salt
Yeah.
and then the sweet.
Yeah.
Straight after.
Yeah.
but it was not like I didn't. I overestimated my.
Did you finish the cookies?
Oh yeah, I finished the cookies.
Of course.
I just did not finish the chips.
Man, that is
Yeah, I feel like you just got like we've heard about people freezing or putting them in the fridge and then reuse. I just don't think you can reuse chips.
I agree.
They just
yeah, you can air fry them.
yeah. But I just no.
Someone's
I just
tried it.
Yeah, Chloe said that her mum does that. I think.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I just don't think it's. I think it ruins it for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it should be against the law. Really.
I reckon.
It's an absolute crime.
Because usually it just makes them too.
Misdemeanor or?
No, a felony. I don't know. That's not an Australian word.
You just don't
it
get
should be
the
felony.
crispiness, and they just get a bit soggy. It's just-
Totally.
Yeah, totally.
Ruins the
it.
point of.
Yeah. But
hot
my
chips or
mum,
fries.
shout out to mum, she actually bought what's up, brother? She bought like a packet of chicken salt. It's like in this tub.
Oh.
And I'm like, yes. I just like shake that on some like sweet potato fries. Is sweet potato more healthy than potato? Because in my health knowledge, I feel like it is. And it shouldn't be because it like tastes better because it's got more flavor.
Ooh, that's
Okay,
interesting.
that's.
But I just thought it was like a healthier option.
I think people view it that way. I don't know if it actually is.
Yeah, I mean,
Maybe
it's
it's
fried
a-
in the same oil kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like I don't know
Yeah.
if there's a huge difference.
But if you're making them at home.
It's like when people are like, "I'm healthy because I drink Diet Coke." Like,
no. Try some water.
That's it. Try some water, 100%. I hate Diet Coke.
Yeah. As a new member of living in Sutherland, I've been hitting up Sugar Ray's more regularly than I even did before because I can walk there. I'm like, oh, this is dangerous.
Better get some lunch.
I'm still yet to go. I've
It's
been
good.
trying to go with my father, but
Yes.
alas, have not gone yet.
Yes.
I don't think I've been either.
Yeah, they have weird hours sometimes because they open earlier in the morning because they're like a cafe and then they do burgers as well.
Oh, okay.
So they're not like regular chip shop hours in terms of like going from midday to later. They're kind of earlier to 2 or something.
Yeah, you think it would open a bit later.
Yeah, but they're not. Yeah, they're more of a cafe than they are.
Yeah. I think we've talked about this before, but come on, Ray. Sort yourself out.
Yeah, one of the owners is named Ray, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Or is it Raylene? I reckon it might be Raylene.
We were
'cause
talking to
it's RAE.
Jeremy. Jeremy knew, I think.
Yes,
okay.
Jeremy. Unsurprising. Jeremy knows a whole lot of surprising facts.
A man of the world.
Man, yes.
Man of the people.
Men of the people and the world.
People and the world. Vote 1, Jeremy.
He didn't actually win our Pope election, unfortunately.
Oh, didn't he?
No, it was Rob.
I think he'd be quite a good politician, Jeremy, actually.
He was very funny.
He was.
Well, I appreciate Jeremy's humour. It's excellent. So, what are we doing today?
I don't know, man. It's your podcast.
Oh. You said you usurped me. I was saying it's your job.
Yeah.
We're unable to secure a guest.
Yes.
That's the first thing.
So if you would like to be on the Chip Lunch podcast and
get
you're
in
listening
touch.
along,
Yeah, get in touch.
Number on the screen.
Yeah. Don't put my number on the screen.
1-800
1-800 Hot Chips.
Joel.
Call in 555. Yeah. Call in on the Chip Lunch hotline. But we thought we'd just have a chat.
Yeah.
We've got our producer in the hot seat. He's young. I'm old. You're in the middle. And we thought we could just talk about stuff about being a Christian.
Yep.
And I think we were going to start with Hudson. Last time you were on, you spoke about going to New Zealand, and I doubted you were going.
Yep.
But you did go.
I did go in
It was a few months
January.
ago. Yeah, right.
When did I go? Oh, I don't know. I think I went the 25th of January and came back the 5th of February. It's like 10 days.
Mm-hmm. We won't hold you to the dates. It's all right.
It's something like that.
Yeah.
It's recorded somewhere.
It's wrong. But a lot of your friends, and you went away with your friends.
Yes.
A lot of your friends are not Christians yet. Not yet Christians.
Yep. Not yet.
You are.
Not yet.
Yes, I'm a Christian.
Is that a tautology or whatever it's called? How did that go? Being away with some friends for a significant amount of time.
Yeah, it was interesting. I'd gone over with a Bible, trying to.
And that's all.
That's it. A Bible and a dream. I'd gotten in this habit of reading my Bible every single day, and I thought,
good habit.
let me bring my Bible and read continue that. because we've talked a lot about, for me, that I need to do a routine, and this was going to be the exact thing to throw me out of my routine, having 10 days of not reading my Bible.
Yeah.
Anyway, I didn't read my Bible once while I was over there. I had my Bible, but I didn't read it. But
appreciate your honesty.
something that was interesting, my brain's usually all over the place thinking about 1,000 things at once, but in New Zealand, I specifically was thinking about God and nature a lot, like seeing his beautiful creation. Particularly, we went to Queenstown, then Dunedin, and then to Lake Tianu, back to Queenstown. So there was like 3 to 4 drives of 3 hours.
Is that all South Island?
Yeah, so all the south of South Island. Or middle of South Island.
Isn't that the ocean?
No.
Like Antarctica.
I'm trying to think of a map. Yeah, it's like middle.
But you're on the South Island, right?
Yeah. And then
that's what I mean.
Queenstown's the middle, Dunedin's to the right, and then you go back across.
Yep.
Lake Tianu's on the left. It's just under Milford Sound, which is a bit more of a bigger location, and then Queenstown's like just a bit to the right and up of that. But yeah, during those drives, you're just driving on like nice, cool landscapes, and I remember like a numerous amount of times that I was thinking about God, which is something I hadn't done in a while, especially being like, it was a time where I wasn't doing much. I was like on holidays relaxing.
Yeah.
And we're talking about before how it was the first time I've been abroad that wasn't schoolies. Well, like I've been to other places, but I was much younger.
Yeah.
So it was an interesting time.
You're kind of on your, like you went with your parents, obviously.
Yeah.
First of all, I just want to congratulate on the use of abroad. Sounds very English.
Thank you. I try.
Let's go abroad. So, are you disappointed in yourself that you didn't read your Bible as an example to your friends, or is it more just for yourself?
I don't think I was specifically probably disappointed, but disappointed. I think firstly for myself. I mean, it's always nice that if they would have been able to see me do that, especially in that time. I don't know if they would have cared at all. But yeah, I think for myself, it would have been nice to do that, especially with having that in my mind already of thinking about God and his creation. So that would have been cool. But
what did you learn about God's creation? Like you said, you've pointed out a couple of times now.
I think I was just in my everyday life, I'm not thinking I think I was like very thankful and just like, it was just I don't know if I would say I'd learned stuff, but I think I was like just reflecting on like his creation and just like in my own thoughts of like, wow, like God's created all this and stuff.
Yeah.
And made us part of it.
I feel like that was something that came up over and over in Dave Burton's podcast that we just did, was how being in those kind of places where you just kind of get to see the scale of what God's done it's humbling, but it's also like, yeah, I think it's good for you in terms of getting a sense of scale and just a little glimpse of how big God's works are. You know what I mean? Even if it's indirectly.
Yeah, I was thinking, I think that's a good point. Because Dave was, where was he? Western Australia.
Yeah.
And also in Canada.
And
And England. Not that was.
That
was gloomy.
That was God's day off.
I can see the hesitation. It's like,
I was trying to think.
Not that one, not that one.
It was a little bit like that. I think it's also like an element of God revealing himself to you in different ways too. And at different moments in your life. Well, almost lost the coffee.
The large coffee.
The large, you have to go get another one. I think reading, like doing 1 Kings at the moment has been really interesting, and I've really valued talking about it in community group as well. Just the idea that God is going to enact his plan no matter what, no matter how bad we are, but then he consistently still reveals himself in his grace and love, like you're saying, Hudson. And I think that's more speaking out of frustration of some things that I still need constant reminders of that. Which I think you're right. Like even when I go away and I go down the south coast and you see these lovely beaches down on the south coast and you just get to enjoy like the waves and walking along the sand and stuff, you're like, it's something I say to my kids is like, every time we come here, I just think about God made this and this is so cool. I suppose that's similar to what you were saying, New Zealand. What's like the big thing that you, like what's the thing that impacted you most about seeing his creation in New Zealand? The Hobbits?
No, I don't. One of the things, we actually watched all the Lord of the Rings movies, the 3 of them, and then watched one of the Hobbits. They didn't have the other 2. I actually found out there was more than one Hobbit movie. For some reason, I was like, there's 3 Lord of the Rings movies and then one Hobbit movie.
Which is what the books are.
There's one good Hobbit movie.
Is there?
Yeah,
I can't remember.
So maybe that's what I'm thinking of. But yeah, we only what did we watch it on? I think they were all on Amazon Prime, apart from the other 2 Hobbit movies. So
this podcast brought to you by Amazon.
we were not going to pay for that. But yeah, we watched the 3 Lord of the Rings movies and then the Hobbit movie, and we're like looking at locations.
Yeah.
They were in New Zealand. I can't remember. I think we were at one of the rapids that they were at.
When they go down it in the
barrels.
I think that's one. I think we actually rafted down that ourselves.
Oh, cool.
In barrels?
Cool. No, in lifeboat. I don't know what do you call it? Rafts. Raft. Yes. In rafts.
We capsized the boat and then we got in a lifeboat.
We actually did capsize the boat on purpose. Oh, we're doing like a massive wheelie. Anyway,
it doesn't have wheels, bro.
We did that.
Get your transport modes.
What was the actual question? What impacted me the most?
One thing that, like, if you can think back of one thing that really stands out in your mind.
Honestly, just they were mountains. There's not really mountains in Australia, and that was that we knew that going over. Like, we'll actually see mountains. Like as you fly into Queenstown, you like go through a bunch of mountainous areas, and you like land in like a valley. I want to say.
Yeah, it's a pretty tight landing.
It was very sick to see, and we were like, I was in the middle seat to someone sitting at the window, so I was like peering over, and I got to see snow for the first time. I was expecting to be able to touch snow. I was promised I could touch snow.
From the plane.
I could not touch snow. not from the plane, but like later on, and I did not get to touch snow, unfortunately.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I was sold a false dream, unfortunately. But I'm going to Japan to be in the snow, so hopefully there's snow there. Otherwise,
to touch snow,
I'll be disappointed.
It'll be winter when you're going then.
Yeah, it'll be hopefully the best time to go. But yeah, what impacted me the most? Let's get back on track. The mountain thing, I think it was just a reminder that like God made all this. I don't think I think about that enough in my busy everyday life in the Shire.
Oh, same, yeah.
So I think that was a really cool reminder. And then now, like, I still get like, I'm still not thinking about that enough, but I think I'd still have moments where I think back on New Zealand, and that's like one of the first thoughts is like, wow, like getting to see a new country and God's creation in a new way was cool. So I think it's a cool reminder that I don't think about that God created all of this, and then the fact that He did create all of this.
I was thinking something similar when there was all that rain, and one thing that I'm quite fascinated with is like, because my kids like learn about the water cycle and stuff. We were talking about, where does the rain go? How does it get there? Like, it goes down. It's like rivers, rivers, like massive rivers start at this tiny little place at the top of a mountain somewhere. And we were talking about like the Rhine in Germany or the Seine River in France, that it's so long, it's hundreds of kilometers long, but it all starts as this tiny little thing. And however God's designed it, rain goes down, eventually forms streams, rivers, and a big river, and then out to the ocean. And then it gets evaporated up, and then it rains again and goes down again. So it's just like, that's just one of the systems that God has created that we kind of just take for granted. But we like, science explains it, but often, I don't mean to get into too much of a God versus science debate, but it's kind of like, how did this form? Like a weather system, like wind, rain, sun, all that stuff. it's like, and all these systems work together. The waterway system, as we were saying, impacts like wildlife, and so it's the complicated systems that all work together that we take for granted sometimes, I think, which is related to that God's creation thing of like, he's not just created a mountain, he's created like systems that work on the earth that feed all different things, including us. And I'm going around in circles, but it's like, it's really hard to grasp that. And then like we spend a lot of time in buildings, but when we go out in nature, that becomes much clearer. Which makes me wonder if we should be spending more time in nature. Like I work in an office, and then we record here in a building, and then we have meetings in the afternoon. It's like, I wonder how it's nice to be not be sheltered from the weather as well. But yeah, how do we, the question I suppose is like, how do we capture the knowledge that God has created Earth? I suppose it's like, because we like our roads and buildings and stuff, we go, oh, we built this. We built our own Tower of Babels. But then we weren't really building it to try and touch God or reach God. But yeah, I suppose we need those reminders because we do forget a lot of the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you reckon like if you're surfing, you get a better idea of that more often? Because you're in nature more, aren't you, if you're surfing?
Yeah.
Open water swimming.
I think that's like, it's just something that people use to be in that more, and it probably gives them more of that perspective.
Even when you walk along the beach, you feel more relaxed.
Yeah. But we are blessed to live in a place that's near things like that.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Talking about my dad, who lives in Arizona, he's like, it's so hot. He's like, it's
then
just
go to the beach, bro. Oh wait.
Well, yeah. He's like, it's just a cool 38 degrees here today. I'm like, oh. Yeah. And he's like, I'd go for a walk, but it's too hot. That's the thing. You could here, even if it's a hot day, you could go for a walk. You'd be by the ocean or whatever, and it'd be cooler. But
I went to sunrise this morning.
Did you?
Yeah.
So that's a good way of reminding yourself of God's creation. It's in the sunrise.
Sat on like the esplanade wall.
Yeah. By yourself?
On the Wonder side, on AirPods in, listen to some Christian music. My attention span only lasts like 20 minutes, so it's like sunrises.
It's 20 more minutes of sunrise than I saw this morning.
That's true. But yeah, that was that's like one of my favorite ways to start the day, except I just struggle to do it now.
Yeah.
But I think if I get back into the cycle of doing it like every Friday, because I was doing it every Friday for like a couple months.
What made you want to do that? Look at the sunrise.
The first time?
Yeah, go to the sunrise.
I don't know. I hate sand. I'm like Anakin. It gets everywhere. It's it's the worst. I don't know. I'm trying to think about the first time I went, because it was never with someone. It's always been by myself. Like I have gone with people, but it didn't start with people, and majority of it hasn't been with people. I think I needed time, just like the New Zealand trip. I needed time to like just be by myself and quiet, and I think I just wanted to be up early as well anyway. So I think that was and usually even if I wake up early, I'll like have a shower, brush my teeth, and then just go back into bed and like watch YouTube. And I'll be like, all right, I have like 2 hours to watch YouTube, and then I'll like lock in. Oh,
this is the same as you wearing your school uniform, so you can watch TV in the morning.
Yeah. So I think it was like and then I'd like turned out, oh, I actually like really like to start my day like this.
That's interesting. I feel like, I don't know if I like sunrises or sunsets better.
Well, isn't sunsets here really bad? Well, not bad, but they're just not as good. Actually, they are pretty good, but
sometimes
it's on the wrong side.
One in winter. Yeah.
I was thinking of one, my favorite one that I can remember is one in Bali, where we went down to the beach and got like hot corn with butter on it and watched the sun go down. That was pretty cool.
I think Fiji's ones were really good when I went. That was nice. Apparently, you can see, I don't think it's called the Northern Lights, but you can see something like that in Grays Point.
It's definitely not the Northern Lights.
No, but like what's like
the Northern Lights is the north of the
I know,
globe.
but like Southern Lights, is that what you call it?
There is
The
there is a version of
Aurora
it.
Australis, I think.
Yes, that. You can see it, like,
Aurora Borealis.
I'm pretty sure you can see it like really good in Tasmania. But
That's probably true.
Apparently you can. Someone has claimed that you can see it in
some
Grace
weirdo
Point.
in Grace Point. Oh yeah, I saw it.
Yeah.
Where can you see? This is great podcasting.
Yeah.
The Aurora. It's Aurora Australis, isn't it? Do you have any questions for us, Hudson? Because that's what we were going to talk about now. There's a couple of old blokes sitting on this lounge, and we've got the microphones turned on, so we're recording. Oh, here we go. Where can you see the Southern Lights? Tasmania, New Zealand, and parts of mainland Australia.
Does that include Grace Point?
No, that's a what is it? A principality. It's like the Vatican.
Maybe it's an old folklore.
Oh, they might have seen it. Maybe on a really clear night. Yeah.
For a question, I think it's more of a topic we can talk about.
Ooh.
Hit me.
You can pull a question from it if you'd like. I think something I've been struggling with this for like straight out of school, and I think a lot of people my age do this. Well, even like everyone going out of school would deal with this. Like, what am I doing? Like, what career am I going into? And then trying to like trust the process.
Yeah.
That's a common phrase. So I'm like, I want to do stuff, but I don't know how to do it, and I don't like. Obviously, I think because I give up Fridays, pretty much all Fridays, which is like, I'm happy to do that, and I want to do that. But like, that's like almost a way, like, of making it harder to do what I want to do. If that makes sense. I don't know if that. This is just me pulling stuff from my head, but like, for example, I have a friend who works like full time and still does uni, and so he's making pretty good money, and like it's on my mind a little bit, being like, I'm giving up, like although I don't want to work that much, like I'm doing way better stuff. It's on my mind of like career and money and stuff and setting up life. Pull a question from that, I think.
Well, you went straight into working before you did uni, didn't you?
I did. Yeah.
How did you find that? I think it's an interesting kind of balance because, yeah, I'm assuming at that time you had a bunch of friends who were at uni and you were working. And then how was that shift?
Yeah, that's exactly what was happening. It's a long time ago. So I'm trying to remember. I think there were good parts about it and parts that I didn't like about it. I think parts were, knowing my friends were hanging out and I wasn't. That was a really interesting time for me, like that year, is that actually it was really hard going straight into full-time work from, I think it was about February or March after like school had finished, like the previous year. And being really tired and struggling to adapt to it, and still doing things like, back in the day it was Solies and stuff like that, because we were at Guymer Anglican. But then I think I've got a bit of regret in terms of like taking responsibility for my life and not working full time after that, like going back to uni. But being at uni and being able to spend hours with my friends was one of the best periods of my life as well.
Yeah.
So I find that it is a bit of a struggle, I think, like kind of to a different degree. It's echoing what Hudson's saying. My question, I suppose, is that why do you feel like you have to be set up? That's probably the question. I think this is in terms of career, this is the best time to experiment and learn. And I regret not doing more of that in regards to my career. And I think there is lots of opportunity to do that in church without a lot of repercussions. Because you're not, like, essentially, yes, you're not being we know that you're not being paid. You're in volunteer capacity for what you do for us in ministry and other ministries as well, like youth. But I think that's a good time to explore all the things that you want to do and really test out and find it, so that you can, when you get a little bit older, whether maybe when you finish uni, maybe when it's during uni, is to like focus on something that you really like doing. Like I said, that's probably one of my regrets, is that I probably would have got that out of continuing to work full time, but I don't regret spending lots of time with my friends where I probably didn't focus on that as much. And I still wasn't really clear what I wanted to do, and it's still probably not clear. I think like similar, again, talking about 1 Kings, is relying on what God's going to do for you as well. So when I hear you say, I need to be set up for life and do all that, I feel like you mentioned your friend and you're comparing yourself to your friend, that he's going to be set up, but that doesn't mean he's going to be set up. There's the world will trick us on telling us that this is where your security lies. And again, relating to 1 Kings, our security lies in what God is going to provide for us, because we know He's going to provide for us no matter what. I think there's a perhaps a lie told that if you have money or you have a house or you purchase a property, that will then you've got somewhere. But my observation is that's not the case. And like I said, I'm being a bit older. That there are still people who feel just as insecure, who have done all those things, and are still trying to find meaning. And I find probably with men my age who are not Christians, especially, are a bit lost, because they probably have achieved all those things that you're talking about, and they still are struggling with, and they've probably got like families, for example. So it's like it's pretty tough. Like you've got to, for example, be working, got to pay your mortgage. You want to try and be a good dad. Like I'm just talking about men, for example. There is a lot more pressures then. So if you don't know what you're relying on, then it can feel meaningless. I suppose that's where I'll probably leave my answer.
No, I think that's very helpful. Like I often find myself like just for a little bit thinking like what I said before, like, oh, I need to do this or I need to do this, and then or I have like that fallback of, because I'm doing all this church stuff, I get the reminder that like God's in control, and especially with the sermons recently have been like God has a plan, like we've got to trust God's plan. Yep.
And the Israelites didn't, or they were disobedient.
Yeah, and despite them being like absolutely the worst, even though we're absolutely the worst too, like God constantly just being like second chance, third chance, fourth chance, like constantly, even though they like reject him at every single opportunity they can.
And Kings is so much about idolatry.
Yeah.
And that's probably what I'm talking about, is that I still do put my hope in idols instead of God. And as I was saying, that other people my age that aren't Christians are like, they don't know there's a difference to the idols that they may be pursuing, I think. And there's a very... that's what I mean. I find a lot of... I know I'm saying men, but I see it a lot with women as well, just around like people, my parents and my kids' schools and stuff. It's just like, where does it end?
Yeah.
That's kind of what it feels like, is that I've done all this. I've done everything I was told I should do, and I still feel unfulfilled.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, and I think that's something you were kind of brushing on, Hudson, is that like the culture that we're in the Southern Shire is very much that like, oh, you do well at school to then go to the best uni, and then you do well at uni to then get the best job, and then you find a partner and you buy a house and you do and it's just like kind of that like
this checklist.
Yeah, exactly, a checklist. I was going to say like it's like that. People have this expectation of how life is going to be, and it's like a conveyor belt where you're just like ticking off the next thing, And like you've said, Joel, like even if things either go well and you get to the end of that and you go, oh, well, actually, maybe these things that I've been told I'm not sitting here with those things feeling more fulfilled, or those things don't happen because life isn't a checklist, and people feel like they've been robbed or they didn't get what they were supposed to have, which is a tricky thing. But yeah, I think it's an interesting reflection, Huddo, where you're at is like, I had no idea what I wanted to do, but you kind of put all this pressure on yourself out of school to kind of find, well, I got to figure out the next perfect thing, because if I don't sort myself now, then I'm never going to get this, or I'm never going to achieve that because I'm behind or something. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's an interesting kind of like place we put ourselves in, because like you've mentioned your friend, like, oh, this other person that's my age seems to have this already. It's hard to not let the culture around you dictate what you should be doing, which is exactly like, we keep bringing out One Kings because that's what we're looking at the moment. But it's really true. I think it's really true in terms of like, it's easy to read Old Testament stories and be like, well, I wouldn't have done that. I'm not stupid.
These guys are crazy.
Yeah, these guys are stupid. Why are they doing that? And it's like, well, everyone else is doing them. And you look at the culture we're in, it's like, everyone... It's so easy when everyone around you has this or is striving for that to be like, oh, maybe that sounds pretty good.
Oh, I don't have it.
Yeah, I don't have it. They have that. Maybe I should be doing that. Maybe I should be thinking about that. And it just kind of like seeps in without even really thinking about it.
Using a conveyor belt analogy, I was just thinking, like, you tick everything off and you end up being the widget that's being created like on this assembly line. Yeah. Or that approach is, if you don't tick off all the things, you fall off the conveyor belt. But I think that's what life is that a lot of time life is falling off the conveyor belt.
Well, that's when people realise.
Right.
Yeah, and when something doesn't go right.
And if you don't have the foundation of God,
yeah,
I think that's where people really, really struggle.
Yeah, because things haven't lined up the way that you thought they would line up. But now all of a sudden you're looking at the fact that, well, if I believe that this is all there is and it hasn't gone my way, well, then I'm just stuffed. You know what I mean? If life's all about maximizing pleasure, and all of a sudden I'm in a situation I don't want to be in, or something's gone wrong, or I'm facing something that I don't want to, then, well, it's just stuffed at that point. I think that's when people, like you said, really start to struggle. Or I feel like a lot of young people I talk to are just like the anxiety of those choices, because the choices have become so massive. Because if I don't get this right, then I'm not going to get this right. Then this isn't going to happen. This is going to happen. And you just get stuck not even being able to take the first step towards anything, because failure has become this thing that's so big.
Yeah, but the thing is, the longer you leave it, the bigger the failure is going to be in your mind.
Yeah, but you just get stuck by the anxiety of choice. And yeah, we live like we can only speak into the culture that we're in. So I'm not saying every culture is the same. We're just talking about where we are, where God's put us here. Yeah. It's a big thought.
I find it really hard, for example, that we don't own a house. And we probably won't for quite a while. I find that really hard. And I think things like the housing market in Sydney puts a huge amount of pressure on people in a variety of different ways. And I've been thinking about that just in relation to how Australia has always prided itself on being like an egalitarian society, that everyone, the fair go. Yeah. Everyone gets a fair go. I don't think Australia's like that anymore. But we still want it. So we've got this high amount of a tendency to continue to compare ourselves because of like, am I getting the fair go?
But it's also like, It's expectation.
Yeah.
So people expect this fallen, sinful world to not be that way. Oh, it should be fair, or it's something we can achieve, and therefore it's wrong when we don't.
And they've also grown. Their parents have grown up in a different way to where they are, which is I think part of that gap between. It's easier for my parents what they did. Well, it seems easier. So that's the other thing, is that it's like the paradox of choice that you're talking about.
It's that comparing thing,
right,
as well.
Right.
We're constantly comparing ourselves to other people.
Yes. Well, I mean, I do wonder about that. Like, I don't know if it's sin, or has God created us like that and sin has stuffed it up. Because we are made to be together.
Yeah.
We're made to be in unity with one another.
Yeah. And jealousy has just taken that and turned it into something else.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, but there's a thing of it's like we're like social beings, so we compare ourselves to everyone else. Like, oh, am I okay? And maybe that is what you're saying, is that sin has corrupted that. But
I think I don't know if it's I think maybe it's worse in Australia because of the tall poppy kind of thing. But
yeah, I think there's an element.
I think when someone does achieve something good or get something good, it's so interesting the way that people react is often, well, I didn't get that. Or
it was easy for him or her.
Yeah, well, they obviously hadn't. It seems like people, there's less like happiness around other people achieving things. There's more jealousy and envy, and well, they have that. Why don't I have that? Why didn't I get? Well, they obviously had an advantage that I didn't have, or this is unfair.
That's a difficult thing for me sometimes too, because I really like seeing people achieve what they set out to achieve, and I love encouraging them in that. But then internally, I sometimes still have jealousy. I'm like, oh, you did something I wanted to do, or you were able to make it happen, and I wasn't able to make it happen. So I suppose that there is that, we are made in the image of God, and that there are these elements of like, we want someone else to succeed in what they want to do. Or, I mean, what even is success? That's the other thing.
Yeah, well, that's where God
it?
is like, the goalposts for that are so different in terms of a Christian worldview and a non-Christian worldview. Like, what is success for those two things? It looks so vastly different.
And that's the thing I probably struggle as a Christian, is there's certain things that I would like to achieve, but I'm like, has God put them on my heart, or am I just doing it for my own glory? And how do you, like, I've always found that really hard to match those two up. Is like, well, if God's given me a desire to do something, like, should I really try and follow that as well? Or is he saying, like, watch out for that?
Yeah.
That's a really hard thing to determine. I remember we had Rob Doyle on Chip Lunch a while ago, and we asked him about calling, and he had such a great definition of calling, is that I think sometimes we import the cultural things that you're talking about, Braden, into a Christian life as well, and what is success. And I remember, and like, what am I called to do? And I'm like, the first thing is, I mean, and this is a thought process that's moved on in my mind, is that, well, we're called to serve God. And I had a great chat with Chris Stevens recently. He's like, my number one ministry is presence, like being there, like turning up at church and community group. And he does it, like Chris does, welcoming is one of his ministries. He also cooks dinner at Saturday night with his family. But he's talking about in relation to his kids, he's like, the first thing I can do is model to them that presence, being there, is really important. Even if you don't feel like it. And then I was recording like Josh Roberts on his Chip Lunch was talking about, sometimes I don't want to go to church, and I make myself do it because he knows he's got thankfully he has a heart of serving other people as well, not just himself. Yeah,
well, I think that's such a big shift, and like we were talking about with the two different goalposts, is that idea of my faith, my Christianity is about me, and
what I get out of it.
Yeah, and shifting that to, well, my faith isn't just about me.
Yeah, and that's the social thing that I'm talking about.
And that's what grates up against everything else, really, is that shift from individual to corporate mindset. Because that's so opposite to everything else that's around us.
Yeah. I think you're right.
Yeah.
And I remember and I think it's a different cultural thing. Like, I think something that we miss perhaps in a lot of Australian culture is like how much benefit there is having not just community, like if we're talking about church community, I think that's something we like value massively at Soul Revival, and is like a massive benefit of what has come out of that after over many years. But also a family. There's a lot of things with like my family, or I think you've told me before, Braden, that your family is like you only see each other on like Christmas, and that's it. Where I look at like other cultures, there's a guy across the road. He comes from, his parents are Lebanese, and he's like, yeah, we're around their place 2 or 3 times a week for dinner, and that might be a bit much. I don't know, but it's also this similar thing of like being together corporately makes a huge difference to how you grow up and mature, and I think in essence, we've been able to replace a fair bit of that at church, or at least recapture it. Recapture is probably the right word, which is really, and something that Stu talks about all the time, is the Industrial Revolution changing that from when we used to grow up in a village. Like us three would grow up in a village, and like Braden's a blacksmith, I make boots, and like Hudson is a farmer or something like that, you know, because he likes working in God's creation. I think that's what is missing, like this contrast of the individualism. And often I think what people are missing, and you see that, and I'm talking about parents of my age, for example, you see like almost an attempt at an overcorrection sometimes by parents when they're at a party to go like, oh, this is what I need, and I need to make the most of this because I don't get it very often. And I think that's one of God's designs, is the reason that like, yes, we can go out in the world on our own, but you need to meet together often. Yeah. Because the Spirit's not just working on you individually, it's working collectively as well.
And I think that's my encouragement to you, Huddo, is you're doing a lot of church ministry. And when you're younger, it's fun to get to do it as a group and stuff. But I think Eli, well, to put a time point on when this is, Eli turned 21 recently. Yeah. And I just remember thinking like, if I wasn't a Christian, there would be no reason to like that I would know Eli.
And go to his birthday party.
Well, he's just like, not even not irrelevant to parties and things. Like, he's 8 years younger than me. Like we wouldn't have crossed paths at school. And yet you see the community that is, my relationship with Eli is built on Jesus, which is just like, you think about the special things that you have there. And so like whether it's editing Shock Absorber and loving people through Chip Lunch and loving people through helping people connect in that way, or the work that you're doing with the year 7 and 8 boys, especially at youth. Yep. Like you just don't know what God's going to do with that. And I think that's what's so, like I don't even know how long I've been doing youth ministry at this point, but like I have those relationships with crew who were my youth boys, who are now youth leaders, who are now leading youth, which is just like, you just see the way that God works through those relationships, and I have no power over where they go, no matter how little or how big amount of effort that I put into it, because God's the one who's making those relationships. And so I think that's the really encouraging thing, is that it's like, like you don't know where it's going to go, and some things are going to work and some things aren't going to work. But God does things that are so much bigger and more amazing than you could ever imagine. His plan is so much bigger than our plans could even start to be. And the fun thing is getting to partner with him doing that. And then I'm sure, Joel, you have plenty of reflections where you just look back and you go, wow, Like,
Yeah.
I could never have imagined God doing that in my life.
Yeah. I don't know where I'd be without being a Christian.
Exactly. And it's just like, well, I often say, like, I'm glad I'm not in charge, because God does so much more wonderful stuff than I would have ever come up with.
Yeah, right.
And it's hard to think like that. It's hard to think like that, because you're like, oh, if I could have done this or I could have done that, or I had a bit more control over that, it would have been nice. Or you just want that. But also you just got to trust that God's going to do what God's going to do.
Mm.
And sometimes it's going to suck at the time. But the blessing that we have is that we're free from that. All the traps and the things around us, we're actually freed from, because our life is not our own. And we are assured in our eternity. So we're not stuck in this world, this mindset of now matters more than anything, because now is all there is.
Yeah, and if I don't
being
have
pulled out of that, I think is unbelievably freeing.
Yes, I think that's true. And also on the flip side, if you don't have whatever is on the checklist or on the conveyor belt,
you haven't just like missed out. Like,
Yeah.
it's like, oh, well, wish I had a better crack. Oh, well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, we've spoken a lot. Sorry, Hudson. Anything you want to respond to? We were just rabbiting on for 2 old men.
I think specifically like saying that like God's got control and God will shape you and mold you. I think like even though I've only like 2 years out of school, I can already see like the changes, and we've talked about the changes.
Yeah.
But like I had a presentation night last night, and it was like we had to come up with a solution. So we're like kind of pitching an idea, and I like did the presentation. It was fine. I spoke well.
Hang
I
on,
wasn't.
pitch it to us.
That was it's not that good of a pitch.
Oh, come
well,
on.
actually,
Just do it.
the guy there was a judging panel, and he was like, they asked a question, and they asked one question to like each of the groups, and after our pitch, the guy was like, "Oh, so you're actually going to do this?" And I'm like, all of my group was like looking around, like, and I was like, "Oh, well, I better say something." I was like, it was more of a novelty to get marks and blah blah blah. He's like, "Oh, are you going to take this further?" I'm like, "Oh,
What's the idea? What is it?"
So we had to try and help the Illawarra area in becoming more energy sustainable.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Finding environmentally friendly ways of getting energy.
So what was your...
So we were improving the efficiency of solar panels with an automatic cleaning system for solar panels, and then also putting a flower bed / plant bed under the solar panel, because that decreases the temperature of the solar panel, which makes it more efficient.
Oh,
but it also cools down the house a lot. Apparently UTS did a study on it. So
there you go.
Yeah. But that, like, the fact is I would never have been able to do that. Like, to stand up and talk in a room full of people before this. Like, I would have been dying. I would have been, like, very bad. So seeing the way that God has changed me through that. And I can see how he's done it. Like, youth is, like, a perfect example.
Yeah.
Just showing up. And I'm not always up the front, but I've had opportunities to be up the front and then have, conversations with people that has, like, built me up to that point where I'm like, okay, I can do this. And then I think also going out of school, I've just been tired of, like, caring what people think. It's such a tiring experience. So I'm like, I actually don't care. And, like, I know who I am and what I am, and that, like, God's made me, and, like, it doesn't really matter what anyone else thinks. So I think that has also changed a huge thing in my mind. It's made me not care as much about what people think. Like, there's definitely, like, I don't know if there will ever be a point where I fully don't care what people think.
No,
Obviously, there's still something there. But yeah, it's definitely, like, helped me a lot in everything like that, and allowed me to do stuff like public speaking, which has been great. Not that I don't like doing it, but, like, I can do it, which I think is a very massive change for me, which has been cool.
Yeah, it sounds like as you grow in your identity in Christ, you're growing in lots of other things as well. I think that's what that calls back to what Braden was saying before, is that God is going to do incredible things. That's what he does without us even noticing. And you're like, oh, looking back 2 years ago, I barely wanted to speak in front of anyone. And I think something like youth ministry, or as we were talking about before, even like career-related stuff, is that that is the huge benefit of being a younger Christian, I think, is that there is this ability to, I don't even want to use the word fail, or just not do something as well as you want to do it, because the stakes are so low, because like that's the freedom that Jesus has won for us. So if you plan something at youth and it didn't go that well, it's like, it's fine. We hung out with the youth crew and we talked to them about Jesus, and that's okay. And I think we talk about being low-key, long-term and relational. That is an example of that, is that sometimes if you were like fully event-based and you had to make it the wildest night ever every single night, like first of all, that's tiring for the leaders. And second of all, it's the crew aren't learning that the exact thing that we're talking about is that we worship God corporately as well as individually. And when you're pursuing the wildest night ever, that's what the relationship's based on, not being there.
I think that's a big thing that's come up recently, that Grace has said like numerous of times, that it's not an event, that we're trying to build a relationship. So we do the age thing of we try, we don't always get it right, especially with leaders changing, but we try and stay with the age throughout their time, because it's just a good thing to build relationships. But yeah, Graves brings up quite a bit that like this is an event, which the game might fail, or it's something might not work out, but it's just but what about how was a conversation you had, even if it was something small and something stupid? So I think that we love hearing that type of stuff at our briefing. It's not obviously we talk debrief about the game, how was that, but I think the highlight for me in particular is hearing the random conversations that people have throughout the night, and what worked, and what was what they enjoyed about the night. And it's been great to hear just random stuff that's been going on, and just some cool conversations that people are having. And it makes me feel more involved, and I want to be there and do more, because there is an impact happening on people.
And that's what I was going to say, is knowing that God is working throughout it, is the impact you're having on young people's lives. Knowing that you are there every week pretty much. That they don't have to have these really deep and meaningful conversations, but they know they can have a genuine conversation. That was why I stayed at youth. Because there was these older, and Michael and I grew up in the same year, in youth group. And we had very consistent leaders through the whole time. And that has definitely shaped his ministry as well as mine, is that if we're going to commit to it, we're doing it for the whole time. And again, you look at the leaders so Karen was in the same year as me, my wife, and so was Michael, that the core of that group, because the leaders were so stable, I think we've grown up pretty stable as well as a result. And then I wanted to do the same thing as a youth leader as well. And I think that you don't realize that until I go back, and until I went back and led. I'm this matters so much more than I realized. So the people that you are leading, the crew that you're leading, are not going to realize that until they're 18, 19, 20.
No, 7, 8-year-old boys are not realizing. And it's definitely hard to see with them, but you're also seeing there's already little changes.
Sick.
Last week I wasn't there. Was it last week? When did Man United lose? Was that last week? Yes,
when?
It's most.
You mean most weeks? Yeah.
Last week.
Yes, last week. So that they lost the final.
The Europa League.
And I was sick the Friday. I was sick throughout pretty much that whole week. So I actually missed youth. But then I came on Saturday and I walked in, I went to put my phone on charge, and then I hear like footsteps like running up behind me, and it's Kobe, like runs, jumps on my head, like rubs my head, and it's like, oh, how was the final? And starts laughing. And then Ross was telling me that like Kobe was talking about it at home, being like, oh, I can't wait to go tell Hudson. He's like, I should wear my Man City shirt. And I'm like,
oh yeah, that kid with the Man City jerseys. Come on.
I was like that, like just that little stuff that like he was thinking about that during the week.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Kobe, I was crying during the week. I've had like 2 days of depression over that. like even though it was like over like it was a little thing, like a sad thing, I guess. It was still cool to be like, wow.
Yeah.
Like he was thinking of me straight away. And then also one of the guys had a birthday, so we had an influx of year 7 and 8 boys.
Yeah.
Okay. So being like saying hi to all of them and them noticing me that I wasn't there, even though that sounds so little. Yeah. Those boys are in their own world like half the time.
But then they're excited to introduce you to their friends, which means it's not clear, but and even the story with Kobe, it means that you actually have a genuine relationship with them.
It's like one of my favorite things, walking into church and then having a bunch of like, of the youth boys just like run up and like, especially like you don't get it much on Saturday nights because a lot of them go on Sunday mornings, but on Friday nights particularly, they'll be like all out the front eating. It'll be like a massive army. I don't get what Tom gets. Tom gets a bit of a war cry. They're a bit of fanboy for Tom, which is
that's
hilarious.
Tom doing kids ministry with them.
Yeah, so yeah, you can see that with Tom doing Sunday mornings. Yeah. He is they have like photos of him on their home screen, and then when he came back for a day, they weirdly that happens quite a bit, even with other people. It's interesting. Anyway, Tom, they had to like update a photo, and then like constantly they'll like pick up their phones and they'll show me like the photos. They've got like a catalog of photos of Tom, and I'm just like great. And like sometimes I'll be in them, and sometimes it will just be him, and I'm like, right. And one of the this got posted in the chat I think a week or two ago, and it was one of the youth boys had sent Tom a letter. It was the sweetest letter ever, just being like about his time, just ask him how he was. And he's like, oh, it took me a while to find out where you are and where I need to send this letter, but like, here you go. And I think he painted him a model or something. And then we were on 2 weeks ago, we were on Friday, and the kid was there, and I was like, oh, what do I have to do to get a letter? Do I have to go to the army or something?
Do I have to leave?
Yeah, do I have to leave? Yeah, stuff like that. That's cool to see, even if it's like you count the little stuff a lot.
The consistency, like similar to Chris, the consistency of presence and being there all the time. Like young people have their parents, but as they get older, they need other like avenues of that, and that's why like youth ministry is so important, and has been so important in my life growing up, and then as a leader as well. And I will, it's a frustration of mine, and I see, you sometimes see other churches maybe not putting as much effort into it, or at least elevating its importance as much as other ministries, but it's so important.
I think it's even important for leaders to do it. Like
it totally is.
There's so much growth for like everyone involved,
and the growth of friendship you have with the people you lead for, because we lead together for such a long time.
Yeah.
Like I've got relationships with people that I didn't know. I've said this before. I didn't know who Jared Spring and Peter Warnington were before we started leading together, and now we're lifelong friends. Yeah, because we did 6 years together. 5.5, something like that. 5 years, because that's when we left Gomir. But it's what you're saying, Braden, is it's so countercultural. Yeah, to go and spend time with your friends, but like serving other people and spending time with them and building relationship with them, people that are vastly younger than you as well. Like most people of that age group, Hudson's age group, are going out.
But it's also not expecting anything out of it. So like we're speaking positively, but like plenty of people you put heaps of time into and maybe nothing comes of it. But that's not the point.
But it's not futile.
Yeah.
I don't think. And how we say that, like, we're just going to hang out as friends, as leaders, and we want to welcome anyone into that with us, and in appropriate relationships. But that's what I didn't realize that was happening when I was doing youth.
I don't think I really understood the like, we'll hang out anyway, even if there's like no kids. And if there's kids, great. We've got people to like hang out with. Like, I think like even last year was like, I think that was one of the first times I heard that statement. I'm like, really? Like, we're really going to hang out with no purpose? Like, it just didn't make any sense in my head. But of course, like, this is literally like any friendship, like with my 3 close friends. Like we don't need a reason to hang out. We'll just do it.
Yeah, because of Jesus. And I think that maybe speaks to some of the growth that you've spoken about previously, even on this podcast, is that's where you, like, that's been a big, because you're like, why would I, like, that's kind of a shift from the individual to the collective thing that we're talking about, is that I get more out of this as an individual because I am giving up more of my individuality to do this. And that is like, that's a very minor reflection of what Jesus has done for us in terms of sacrifice. And so we do that in order to, we do that in the knowledge that Jesus has done for us, but like you just don't, sometimes you're like, where is God working in this? And then you go, oh, there he is. Like that's what we get to see. And you'll have those relationships and you'll like, I don't look on back on my time and youth and go, oh, that was a waste of time. Ever. There's things that I was like, I wish we'd done that better, but it's not like in terms of relationships and time spent on it. Yeah.
And like another example of that change is like going to MCC. So I don't know how long I've been going for now, but it's like more than 9 weeks, I would say. But like there was no way I would be able to go into church and talk, especially with people vastly different to my age, and just have like a random conversation. And like I wouldn't say I particularly have many conversations, but like the fact that I just went in and just like talked to random people, and then have built like a relationship with a bunch of the youth boys that I'm not even like leading. They're at the MCC for youth. Yeah. But like it will like help with the combined night as well. Yeah. Because like we're having a combined night and we're trying to figure out how do we like push, well not push, but like try and get that connection.
Trying to strengthen it.
Yeah, strengthen the connection and build the connection between Kiwi and MCC.
Yeah, that's right. Anything else, Braden? I think this has been a fun episode.
It's been great to just sit down and hang out.
Yeah, that's what we've been doing, isn't it? But I think it's another indication of how good it is that, like, I'm 9 years older than you, Braden. 20 years older than Hudson. Oh, not you. I don't feel old though, and I think that's part of the reason. Like friends with Hudson. I have friends with Hudson, and ours has grown because we're doing ministry together. But I don't even like think about the fact that you're that younger than me.
Yeah, no, I don't think about that. You're way old than me.
Yeah,
but like
that's the beauty of it, though.
Yeah, I think the more you talk, the more you realize how like similar you are.
Yeah, exactly.
Which I think
that's a good point. Yeah,
I think we often
focus on difference.
Focus on differences. Whether if there was conversation there, they would see the similarities.
Yeah, it's more just like more experience rather than age. I mean, that's what age is, I suppose. You've got more life experience. But it's really different, the fact that we've done it. And it's similar with me. I've got friends in like Jai and Stu, and they're a lot older than me. But I don't see them as different.
Yeah.
I suppose that's what Jesus does. And that's part of that unity thing we were talking about previously. Anyway, this has been fun.
Thank you.
Thank you, Hudson, for jumping in.
Yeah. You're welcome.
And giving us
getting out of bed.
Again. Yep. Thank you for rising from the depths of your
slumber.
Yeah, that's it. Great stone dragon, have you awakened? It's from Mulan.
Okay, good.
I want to watch Mulan now.
Oh, that is. I was discussing this with Manda. That is an underrated Disney.
Is the new one good? I've seen the old one.
They got rid of the best character.
Yeah, Eddie Murphy's Mushu.
What, the little dragon?
Yeah, they got rid of it.
Yeah, he's not in the live action.
And it's way more violent in the live action version.
Mushu is
Mushu.
Because the other one,
Brings it all together.
the animated one was really good.
Oh, it's, yeah.
I
so
made
good.
breakfast and I'm happy to see you. Interesting. So Eddie Murphy did that, and then he did the donkey in
Yeah.
Shrek, right?
Yeah.
And it's very similar. Like
Oh, yeah.
the character, it's the best character, isn't it?
Mm.
Shout out to Eddie. Eddie, you got to become a Christian though, bro.
We'll get you on the podcast once
Yeah,
you
we'll
do
get you on the
that.
podcast. Only when you care to become a Christian, Eddie. I know you want to come on now.
We keep saying no.
Anyway, you guys are legends. Thank you that I get to do ministry with you guys. And thank you to Jesus.
Amen.
Thank you, Jesus.
One way.
Amen.